Hi, it's Jerry Robertson. We are back with our series of conversations about the coronavirus with community leaders in and about Santa Barbara. And today we are joined by City Council member Alejandra Gutierrez, who represents District 1 on the East Side. Thank you so much for being with us today, Alejandra.
Thank you for the invitation, Jerry.
How are you kind of personally getting by in all this? Where are you going out much, or are you just sitting on the couch and watching Netflix? What's your schedule like these days?
The only outing I do is to my two offices, the one at City Hall on Tuesday. I got a laptop from City Hall, but it's not really working, so I go to City Hall on Tuesdays to use my desktop. And then I come to my office at Franklin. I'm doing a lot of cleaning, just really taking this time to get organized and start thinking about projects that I want to do in my other part-time job as an employee in the school district. But other than that, I to the grocery store, but with mask and gloves. I don't really go out to the beach or anything. I drive by the beach, but that's about it.
All right. Well, let me ask you, of course, you were elected last November, sworn in January. Landslide Alejandra won by 8 votes, proving that every vote counts, and defeated an incumbent. What surprised you the most since you got to City Hall in terms of your expectations for what being a council member would be like? What's did you not expect?
Well, working for the school district, I already understood that things take time and there's a process for things. But now that I was at City Hall, it was like, all right, I'm in the boss's seat. I'm going to say, we need to do this and we're going to get it done. It doesn't work like that. It takes a lot of conversations. And I have found myself being the person on council to educate. I'm educating people on what goes on in my district, the importance of really hearing the community out, and that we really need to respect their thoughts, even though their thoughts can be very one-sided, but that we really need to take the public in consideration.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about how that's impacted or how that's manifest during the pandemic. First, kind of how has it affected your district, both in terms of public health issue and also in terms of the economy? And what was what was the disconnect that you saw between City Hall, or that you've seen between City Hall and the district?
I think so. The most popular issue was the Cacique Bridge, the homeless settling in there, and the businesses having a lot of trouble with them, and also the people that lived around in the neighborhood couldn't really access that path to go to Milpas or to the beach. I can understand if you don't live in this district it's out of sight, out of mind. And what COVID-19 did to my district, it basically just shined light on issues that we've had for many, many years. I did a walkthrough with one council member, Eric, and then 2 community members that have been really big advocates for District 1. And when I saw Eric's face, when we're actually walking and he's firsthand, he's witnessing and he's hearing from the local businesses around there, the stories that they have to go through every day. They break into their bathrooms, they've broken doors, or they go to the bathroom in front of their business and they have to clean that up. Some of the business owners don't even want to call the police anymore. They try to handle it themselves. But that has been just a huge issue because it just got really out of control. You found people walking on the streets, parents that were scared to walk their child through the underpath. There was times where I was driving and I had to slam my brakes because the homeless would just cross the street, like if that was their own area.
Yeah.
And I understand that we need to be compassionate, compassionate to them because of the situation we're living, and they really do need a lot of services. But the situation on the Cacique Bridge, that is reflected what's been going on in District 1.
That it's just kind of neglected in a way. Well, yeah, because I'm a little confused about exactly what happened because, my understanding, the city had this policy, we're not going to break up any encampments, we're not going to, move the homeless from there because it could disperse, infectious disease throughout the community. And then yesterday, we're talking Wednesday, so on Tuesday, there was an emergency motion, I guess, that the council took up. And then before you knew it, there were social workers and others there who kind of moved that encampment out. Well, who did, in fact, move the encampment out. What changed? What changed in that short amount of time?
The community was already making phone calls, sending emails, really pressuring the city. Like, we have an issue here. And then I think now that I'm on council, I'm not going to stay quiet to situations that are happening that are really affecting the safety and the health safety of the people in my district. So I'm very vocal when it comes to, I don't like to waste time. I really like to find solutions. And I think 2 weeks ago, I was very vocal, and I do understand that we have a state order where we can't move homeless people from where they've settled because of what's going on. That's state regulations. But the questions that I asked was, is there a number where, the city can call and explain the state, our specific situation? Do we need to write some letters? Do I need to get community members to make some phone calls? I was really pushing the city to really find a solution. Come on, like, there's something we need to do because this got out of control. It was just not safe at all. I mean, there were things that children were seeing when they were walking through there. It's horrible. Or you couldn't even walk through there. You had to go through the street.
So when you say you were pressuring the city, you were specifically speaking with Paul Casey, the city administrator, or the mayor, or who exactly?
So on 2 weeks ago, during the city council meeting, I asked Ms. Doubles and Paul Casey and the mayor, there's something that we need to do. And there was already conversations going on in my district with organizations like PATH, SBCAT, and CityNet. And I think really being vocal 2 weeks ago during city council, I think the city really realized we have a big issue on our hands. And then police officers were getting called often, so they were able to also look at those calls. It was an issue that they could not just turn the other way. And I was not going to let it go. And community members reached out. They said, come on, Alejandra, we can walk through. Even though I lived very closely, I knew exactly what they were talking about. But I really liked the fact that Eric Friedman said, I'll join you on the walk. And that's why I did the walk. Because I was like, okay, come on, now you're going to really see what the community in District 1 has to deal with. And then he advocated for it as well during the council meeting. But I think it really took everybody's cooperation, community members, nonprofit organizations that work with the homeless, and the city making it a priority.
Yeah. And how about the mayor? Was she helpful in this?
Yeah, I think she really heard the urgency of the community members. And when I was very vocal during, our city council meetings, that I was not going to let this issue go just very easily. And she pushed to find solutions. There was also talk that maybe we can use the zoo parking lot. They were looking into different places where we can possibly provide a better space for the people that were living under the bridge.
So the hotel rooms that were used or that were given to people yesterday, are they part of the 68 hotel rooms that we had talked about previously putting homeless people, or was this in addition to that?
I'm not sure, because when I found out that they were cleaning the space, it caught me by surprise. I thought we were going to have one more discussion. And then, oh no, the bridge, I got a text from one of the local business people. They said, Alejandra, they're cleaning out the bridge. And then Paul Casey said that SB Act and CityNet were out there asking people if they wanted a motel room. Some people said, no, we're just going to move down to the beach, or some of them just left voluntarily. I don't exactly know where the motels came from, but I was like, wow, we got some money, we got resources. Now I know.
So you felt good about that. You felt that you'd really accomplished something that was of great urgency to your constituents.
Oh yeah, I started clapping in my office. Kristen is right next to my office, and she heard me clapping. But it wasn't just me. It was the community, but it really makes a difference when you have somebody in council that really understands the need, because there was nights that I couldn't sleep. I'm like, I need this solution by this week. Like, the community can't wait one more week, because it was just getting worse and worse every day.
So what happened to the argument about, well, we can't disperse people because we'll spread infectious disease? How was that? Just kind of everybody forgot about that, or was there some resolution to that?
I think they took a chance, because with COVID-19, can you imagine if one of those homeless, got infected? Everybody under that bridge, or anybody that would walk through to go to work at the different construction sites that are around town, District 1 would slowly start getting infected.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was just really ugly. It was like you were walking on a sidewalk down LA or San Francisco. That block was pretty ugly, especially towards the afternoon.
Okay.
But I think what happened was that they really saw the urgency. Like, this is going to get out of control. I also expressed that I can see this snowballing, where there's a fight that can break down in the middle of the bridge. There was neighbors that were really upset, extremely upset. Business owners that, when I reached out to them, they were yelling and they were frustrated. And I took it because I understand. I would be yelling at the city as well if I was them.
Mm-hmm.
There was pressure. There was no way the city could be like, oh, we're going to wait another month. That was not going to happen.
So waiting was not really on the table. No.
So they found a solution with the motels, and I don't think they made it seem like they gave them resources. So I think that's where they cover their butts. We gave them a better place to go, and with resources and meals.
Okay. All right. Do we happen to know if any tests for COVID-19 were provided? Were any of these people tested before they were given?
No, not that I know of, but now that they are connected with a social worker, and they're probably gonna get tested.
Okay. All right. Another thing you've been vocal about during the pandemic is Spanish-speaking staff members from City Council. How do you feel the city did in reaching out to Spanish-speaking people in the community?
At first, I think the city was in a transition of hiring an communication outreach person that was bilingual, and they finally hired her before this whole COVID-19, maybe like a week before. But they were slow, and once I think the county also started to pick up and giving a lot of bilingual information, the city really started to pick up. And again, I was very vocal, and the city was also already working on getting more Spanish communication out. But I'm not going to let it go, because there's no reason that a city like us can't provide the same information in English in Spanish. We need to start thinking out of the box. We need to have somebody, and I said it yesterday, I said, we need to put a staff person responsible for all the Spanish communication. And Liliana Encinas, she works for the fire department, and she does such a great job. She does a great job because she knows her community. And we need to model that, because Liliana she's a superhero, but she's only one.
So do you feel that's going to happen now?
I think so. I'm there. We can't just
No,
check.
no, but I mean, is there gonna be follow-up now to get a person in that position?
I believe so, because they also noticed how the community was responding after having these different types of outlets of communication.
Okay. So again, going back to, you parachute in as the new kid on the block. What do you think that leaders at City Hall and the mayor were missing or are missing about the needs of Eastside residents?
I I think they were disconnected. I think the district representation was supposed to bring that, but I think you had somebody that, yeah, lived in the district, but wasn't really connected with the whole district and didn't understand the history and the different pockets of communities that are in this district. This district is very diverse. I mean, you have a big business sector. You have Milpas, Haley, the Funk Zone, but you have a large Latino community here. You have an immigrant community here. You also have an Anglo community here. It's it's a very diverse community, but it's very tight because they have felt that their voices or their needs haven't been met at the city. They really protect themselves.
Okay. Um, so when we look at the pandemic sort of from a policy perspective, we've got this public health emergency. We have an economic emergency. We have a recession plus, what are we, $30 million short in revenues at City Hall. And then you combine all that and it goes to the whole issue of, what are we doing about State Street? What are we doing about the economic development plan for this city? So the mayor comes up with this task force, this economic revitalization task force, and apparently you read about it in the media. She didn't communicate with you about that. What happened? I know you were kind of concerned about the way that went down.
You explained it exactly how it went down. I was frustrated. I was upset. Again, because my district is a very important district because of the wide range of businesses we have here. And I've always heard for many years, talking to local business owners, how they feel that their needs are not being concerned. Being heard at the city, they always complain how the city doesn't think out of the box to find solutions, or they don't take them in consideration. And when I heard of this, I'm like, this is the problem. This is not okay. And I was very vocal about it. And so now what happened was the mayor asked everybody from the city council members to put in a business rep from their district to be part of this task force. What I want to see out of this task force is to have people that are going to be vocal and challenge some of those ideas that the city had, because obviously they were not working. I don't know how to say it nicer. The city's doing their job, but we really need to start thinking out of the box and listening to people that they normally wouldn't have communication with.
Well, one of the policies, I guess, is the AUD overlay that the East Side was supposed to be, or is supposed to be still, I guess, the spot for high density housing. Are you in favor of changing that and transferring that AUD overlay to downtown?
So I'm actually asking a lot of questions because the AUD and development, I'm still very new to a lot of this, and I really want to get my head around this and really understand how it's going to affect the future of the East Side, and if it's really the way to go. So I don't have a direct answer for that because I'm still learning.
All right. You also announced a partnership with your colleague, Oscar Gutierrez, no relation. It's called the One Community Bridge. What's that about?
So Oscar and I, being born and raised in Santa Barbara, we realized that we live in a very unique city, a city that really has the resources to provide youth that are, getting into gangs or they have fallen off the tracks. I don't like to say at risk. I think everybody is at risk of misbehaving. But we realized that in order to finish with this whole gang issue, we really need to bring the community together. We really need to bring the adults in the community together with one mission of, helping the youth out. And that means bringing in also the business owners that can hire some of these high school kids and maybe mentor them to give them their first, job skills. The community is small enough where we can all help the children in our community. They're going to be the future. And we also need to get all of the different organizations that are working with this type of population to be on the same page.
Okay.
It's basically just bridging all the resources that are in this in the city to connect them with the East Side and West Side.
I understand. So when you decided to run for the council, you were very well known, obviously, in the East Side. You weren't known really that well citywide, but you got the Democratic endorsement, and I know the mayor knocked on doors for you and so on. And I think there was a perception, at least among some of my colleagues in the media, that you were going to be, in the mayor's camp all the time, that you were going to be in Kathy's pocket, as it were. That hasn't really worked out. So, I mean, how have you kind of worked through that?
What do you mean it hasn't worked out? They still think that I'm...
No. I mean, I think that the perceptions of my colleagues were not correct in the sense that you're...
I would laugh every time I would read that. And those that know me would be like, they have no clue who Alejandra is. I'm really vocal when it comes to things that are unjust. But I'm very shy at the same time. I'm getting used to being in the spotlight, having, articles written up, taking, people taking pictures. That I'm not used to. But I'm definitely a leader. I like to see I see a problem and I like to find solutions. I don't like to reinvent the wheels. I like to respect those people that have already been doing the work and coming together. And even my closest friends and family members know that I will stand my ground if I'm very passionate about something, but I'm not going to stand my ground just because I want something to happen and I haven't seen all of the different options. Like, I'm not stubborn or I'm not closed-minded. And I will challenge whoever to start thinking out of the box to find solutions. These gaps need to start closing. We're in 2020. We don't need another COVID-20 or, another virus to stop the city and shine light on the issues that we've always had. The issues that we have right now with the businesses, with the homeless issue, these are issues that we've always had.
But, there is sort of a performative aspect of politics. And, I just, having covered it for a long time, there can occasionally be a difference between what someone says privately and then what they come out and say publicly before cameras and so on and so forth. Has that been something that's surprised you? And are you struggling to deal with that?
Of course. I mean, I was not afraid, but I was nervous to be on your show because it's really hard for me not to be transparent. And it's also part of my personality. But I come from working, from the school district, and we, as, working at the school district, you have to be very transparent and truthful. And now going into politics, it's a whole different field. It's you have to be very careful everything that you're saying because people can misinterpret it, or a lot of people are afraid of just being who they are. I mean, it's tough. I was having a hard time with it because I don't know not to be myself. So what a really good friend of mine said was, Alejandra, don't worry about getting reelected. Just worry about getting things done in city council and just be yourself. People are actually going to appreciate that. So, I mean, you could see the city council meetings, and I've tried to be, polished as much as I can, but I'm pretty much who I am.
Do you feel that there is sort of an internal self-preservation about the bureaucracy at City Hall? In other words, it's more concerned with sort of self-perpetuating itself rather than dealing with problems out in the neighborhoods?
I would say no, but that would be lying. Of course. I mean, it's obvious. The Cacique Bridge was a perfect example. They tried to keep their cool. The city put some porta potties there, which I later found out because I drove by and I said, whose idea was that? It was a bad idea, because then that was going to just send a more welcoming message. Now, I don't want to sound like I'm against the homeless. I'm not. Of course I'm not. But what I'm trying to say is that the city needs to start bringing in different players, hearing different opinions. And we're in a time of crisis. People are not going to take, any BS anymore. There's going to be questions and they expect answers. That's all I'm going to say.
All right. Okay. So what are you, 3 months in, 4 months in? You glad you did this? Or
I am.
are you?
I am. It's been really tough. I've grown a lot as a person. I'm learning how to play politics. But what's really rewarding is to see something, an issue like the Cacique Bridge. We found a solution. People are going to be able to walk freely, and to hear the joy of people that live in my neighborhood. I got text messages, thank you, Ale, but I have to remind them, it took everybody to get this. It took me being really loud and cranky, and all of the community members, not letting go of those issues, and organizations like CityNet, SB Act, PATH, getting together and say, okay, we got an issue. We really need to handle this as soon as possible.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. I know you're really busy, and we really appreciate you coming on and talking about some of the issues in your district, and hope you'll come back and visit with us again.
Anytime, Jerry. Thank you so much.
Thank you.